Dear Clash Guards, I confess my emotions have been a mess. Cause you changed everything we ever knew. From witches to poison and the Queen walked too. Whoa, I've been wrong, I was wrong. Been a town hall night, way too long. Getting hogs and Valkyries. I'll push that button and believe in you again.
Welcome to episode 107 of Pineapples and Thorns. I'm Kat, and today with me is T. Welcome,
Hello. T. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. And what we're going to do is jump right into some CFF news from Darth Yoda.
Hey, Kat. Thanks. So we've got quite a bit to cover this week in CFF news. Up first, we have an incredible event. It's an annual event that we do called the 69 War. That will be happening on June the 9th, hence 69. And the fun premise of this event is only attacks that land exactly on 69 actually count towards your total. So it's super fun. Signups are live right now in the CFF server, but I know they're going to be ending pretty soon. So if you want to take part in the event, make sure you head over there and get signed up. But what I can tell you is it is a lot of fun, and you would be surprised at how difficult it is to actually land on that 69 number in order to get your attack count. So sign up. All right, up next, we have had the Clone War that took place just a couple of weeks ago. The Empire ended up winning by a score of 66 to 58. I was actually on that team, and again, this is another really fun annual event that we do. And the basic premise of this one, just to kind of give you an idea of what the event was all about, is you have to attack using the same exact army on your second hit that was used against you on the first. So it's a great way, and people had a lot of fun with it. There were some really creative attacks, and yeah, it was a great event. So looking forward to it happening again next year. All right, hey, up next, I've got some news that I wanted to report out in regards to CWL. We had two clans that actually promoted back into Champions 1. So big shout out to my clan and my team, SOG, and then also over to some really close friends of the CFF over in the Good Guys. They had been in C1 for a really long time, got demoted out. It only took them a couple of months to get back, and they made it back as well. So the Sons of Guns and the Good Guys both make it in the same month. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of back and forth that was going on and sharing how we were doing. So that was a lot of fun to do. All right, up next, this one is huge, guys. If you don't pay attention to anything else I share today, pay attention to this one. Okay, so we did a charity war. It was something that that came together rather quickly. This war took place last Saturday on May the 17th. And it was streamed by Mords and presented by Mords. And basically, we were there to raise money to benefit mental health awareness, a charity that I know is near and dear to Mords' heart and many of the people in the CFF as well. And it completely blows my mind, but somehow we were able to raise over $3,000 to support this charity. So not bad for a bunch of dumb gamers, let me tell you. That's a big number. That's going to be put to good use. There is a couple of people that I did want to shout out here as part of this, and that is going to be Drac. Drac actually, he had said in advance of the match that he was going to match donations, all the donations that were made by his clan, the Rated. He was going to match it up to $500. And would you know it, those crazy guys in the Rated, they did it, man. They raised $500 on their own, and Drac was a man of his word, and he matched it. So Drac threw in 500, and then there's also somebody else I would like to mention as well from the Rated, and that's Eli. Eli himself donated $300 to the cause. So really, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of the CFF, and the things that you guys were all able to achieve that evening. It's just wow, just crazy. All right, up next we have got Kent Farmhouse. They are going to be putting together a 50V to celebrate the reopening of Kent Farmhouse 2.0. We don't have any details out on that just yet, but it's going to be coming, I would imagine, fairly quickly. So just pay attention to the server. As soon as we have those details, we'll get it put out to everybody. All right, and then finally, what you guys have all been waiting for, the old Lord of the Week. So this week, I was going to give it to Discord for turning off notifications in the CFF server once we reached 2,500 members. Boy, that was a real pain in my ass, let me tell you. But alas, somebody has done something even greater to win the award this week, and that person is none other than one of the co-leaders in the Mighty Sons of Guns, Wolf. So what did Wolf do to earn the title this week? Well, let me give you a little backstory. So a few wars ago, in jest, I had told everybody in the Sons of Guns that if they didn't triple at least one of their two attacks, they were going to owe me 50 push-ups. Okay. So wouldn't you know it, Wolf didn't get a triple in either one of his two attacks. So he came to me and he said, "Hey, I need to honor what you had said, and I want to make a video of me doing these 50 push-ups, so that way you have a record that I did up." So I was like, you know, I said that in jest, right? And he was like, "You did?" And he's like, "Well, I'm still gonna do the 50 push-ups anyway because you said I needed to do it." I'm like, "Fine, go do it, make your video." So he did. He made his video. He sent it to me and posted it to YouTube. Um, so he gets the old Lord of the Week, and to make matters even or make things even better for you guys out there, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this podcast actually gets posted to YouTube like a few days after it gets uploaded to the major podcast streaming services. It gets uploaded to the YouTube. So when that happens, and if any of you guys out there are brave enough to want to see Wolf do 50 push-ups in his apartment, we're actually going to post that video in the description of that YouTube video when it launches. So, yeah, cool stuff. All right, Cat and T, back to you. Have a great episode.
Thanks for that, Yoda. So, T, what have you been up to since last episode, other than planning to re-record this one?
Oh man, yeah, it's it's brutal. I think if anybody's in the CFF server, you might have seen me say that like the audio got corrupted. We had to re-record this, and it stinks because when you finish recording an episode, you're like, oh, I could have done that better, and then it's like you don't want to actually be called on that.
Well, it's all my fault. Let's be clear. It's all completely my fault. It was just like this perfect storm of really bad Wi-Fi, and my microphone was acting up. So you guys sounded great.
Yeah.
It was just me. I was completely garbled. So
that's okay. These things happen. Technology is annoying.
Yeah.
But no, I've just been writing and unfortunately answering everyone's questions in the CFF server about the topic that we recorded and then have to re-record is, a little frustrating. But how about you, Kat? What have you been up to?
Oh, just, clashing and working. And now that it's spring and I have air conditioning again.
Wait, you can actually turn your air conditioning on? What is this?
Well, let's just say we had, normally we don't get a lot of hot weather here in May. We get snow, which we did have. But we had 3 days of unseasonably hot temperatures up into the high 30s, which would be like the 90s.
Nice.
Thereabouts, which is super hot for here. But my air conditioner died.
Oh, no.
During that time period. So I was dying.
Yes, technology has not been treating you well, huh?
And then we got a new air conditioning unit installed, and then it snowed.
Nice. That's exactly what you want to happen.
So that's what my life has been like for the past few weeks. So
yeah.
It's gotta get better.
Meanwhile, the East Coast is like the exact opposite. Like normally May we're in shorts and t-shirts, and now it was like 51 degrees Fahrenheit and raining and windy.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, what is this? Like everybody in New York City was just like angrily wearing hoodies and carrying umbrellas. It was an
angrily wearing hoodies. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about some Clash stuff.
Sure.
We did, as Yoda mentioned, a charity war with Mordzers for mental health awareness. It was a lot of fun. Great turnout, both in-game and on the stream. The final score ended up being 58-56. Team Mords won. And I think they raised well over $3,000, which was incredible. So kudos to everybody for that.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to just briefly touch on the May theme, since May is almost over by the time the second recording gets out. We had the High Seas theme. There was some actually really incredible hero skins: the Kyoto Queen skin, the Samurai King, the Cyclone Prince, the Grand Monk for the Warden, and the Royal Ninja for the RC. The scenery was on point, both
Mhm.
price-wise and animation. I think it was fantastic. What about you?
Yeah, you definitely sold me last episode on the scenery, so I picked
Mhm.
that up. And then, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was saying in the SOG chat about how the Minion Prince has this little swirly
Mhm.
effect. And so I had to pick him up because one of the things that you'll learn when you start using the Minion Prince, Cat, we're still waiting for you anytime you want. One of the things you learn is that the Minion Prince tends to kind of get lost in the middle of whatever troops you're using. It's a little different if you're doing like the Itsu strategy from when he had the Minion Prince on ground attacks. Like then he stands out pretty easily. But if you're doing dragons or Hydra or kind of anything in the air, he just tends to disappear. And one of the things that determines whether or not you use the Minion Prince effectively is if you're able to aim his orb well. And that's kind of why dragons, I think, are really, really strong right now, even though they're not like the number one strategy, is that when you use the Minion Prince with a lot of tanking for him so that he lives for a while, if you get a good dark orb, it's like a free triple. And if you get a bad dark orb, well, that's when you start to get like those high percentage 2 stars.
Mhm.
And so this skin has this little effect. Now, it doesn't like highlight the Minion Prince. It's still possible to lose him, but he stands out a little bit more. So I got it. Wizard also made a good observation that in the hero like animated banners, like when you have your hero hall,
Right.
he also matches the what is it? The white skins, the magic skins. There
Oh,
we
the
go.
magic ones. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little. It's not like 100% match, and he doesn't have like the white eyes, so it's not like a perfect match, but it's pretty close. It's better than the base skin, that's for sure. So all those things combined in Supercell managed to get a couple dollars more out of me.
And that's their main goal.
Hmm.
Yeah, I got the scenery and I got the Royal Ninja because I really liked her.
Yeah, that skin did look good. I'm sorely tempted. You know, there's still what 5 more days of May, 6 more days of May as we're recording this. So who knows?
I know I'm really tempted to get that Cyclone Prince, even though currently I do not use the Minion Prince in any of my attacks. But if my arm keeps getting twisted, I may end up trying dragons, and then I would definitely need that. So
Hmm.
yeah, kudos to Supercell on those. It was all well done. All right, another nice thing about May is there was no equipment event, which was great, except I do miss the ore.
Hmm.
But we did have some mini spotlights, mini events. There was a Super Yeti mini spotlight event to introduce the Super Yeti surprise, Super Yetis. Uh,
Who could have seen this coming?
I am shocked. I had no clue that they were working on this, but they were much, much reduced in power. I don't have the exact stats, but I know a lot of people are still using them to great success. Not quite as strong as when they were accidentally introduced previously, but yeah, I like the look on them. I think they're really cool looking, and I'm definitely going to give them a try. I've been told they're similar to using the Super Bowlers, so if people
Mhm.
are missing that Super Bowler attack, they might want to try the Super Yetis. Then we also
Interesting.
had
I
a chess. Oh, go ahead.
I actually didn't hear that they were similar to the Super Bowlers. I heard they were more like a 1-to-1 replacement for Root Riders,
Yeah.
like the same style attack. I wonder, like that's really interesting that they would be considered like bowlers because that's similar to the Root Rider strategy, but it is a little different. Like I think Super Yetis have come out, and I have to give Supercell at least like a slow golf clap. Is that like the Super Yeti's now come out? It's not completely busted. It seems like it is usable, but
Hmm.
not crazy, which is like that's a pretty solid release for a new Super Troop. You know, that's not bad.
Well, especially from them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Listen, it's a rare occurrence when this happens, so I feel like it has to be acknowledged. Like, good job, Supercell. You didn't do what we all thought that the Super Yeti was coming back out and was going to be busted or useless, and neither of those is true. So good job.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a nice little clap there. So
Mhm.
let's see. We also had the treasure chest event, which just ended. Those are always kind of fun. Like, some people get really lucky and they get skins and sceneries and everything, and I'm not one of those people. I usually end up with builder base loot and elixir and what have you, and maybe odd little dollop of ore.
Yeah,
So
I got one common chest with blue ore, and pretty much everything else was clan capital related, and it's just like, just why? You
I
know?
did get a couple of those clan castle cakes, which I love those things.
Some of them are pretty neat. Like, I'm getting to the point where none of them are exciting anymore. I used to like the one that would let you do the 3 attacks with, like, maxed everything, including
Oh
equipment.
yeah.
That one's pretty cool. I wish there was, like, some sort of weighting on the chests such that, like, if I'm in a clan that has a maxed out clan capital, like, just stop giving me the clan capital medals, because I can't even turn those into gems. Like, they're just a complete waste. Like, that
Yeah.
stinks. But I get it. You know, it is what it is. Like, everybody in the CFF server was talking about it, and several people were like, "Oh, I got a book of heroes, but my longest hero was already upgrading and it had like 26 hours, so it was like, kind of wasteful." It's like, look, you just can't plan around these events. Like, you can't plan around RNG rewards. And like, the only way that I've ever really been able to tolerate the chests addition to the game is that it's like, it's just free nonsense. It's like,
It's just a little extra.
yeah, exactly. Like, you're not paying for it. Who cares if you're using the magic items effectively or not? Like, just whatever. Just move on.
Yeah.
Don't pay
Take the
attention
ones
to
that you
it.
like, and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Another little event that we got, it's ongoing, is that the Super Troops are on sale for 99% off, which kind of floored me. So it's
Yeah.
a great opportunity for people to knock off that boost the Super Troop 7,000 times for 50 gems.
Oh, that's what people were talking about. I totally hadn't even paid attention to that at all, because, like, I don't know, to me, one of the things that's weird is the reason why Super Troops cost Dark Elixir in the first place is we were at a point in the game where a lot of people that were maxed wanted some way to use their Dark Elixir. Everybody was just like, my Dark Elixir is always full. Like, this is stupid. Like, why can't we use it for something? And so Supercell's answer to that was like, oh, we'll make Super Troops cost 50,000 Dark Elixir for 3-day rentals. And it was like, it's not exactly what we were asking for, but okay, it's something. It keeps our Dark Elixir so that it's not full. Great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, though, I think we need to revisit the fact that the Super Troops cost Dark Elixir, because now we have the Alchemist lets you turn Dark Elixir into one of your other resources. So, like, if you're a maxed player, that's great, because as you're farming, your Dark Elixir will fill up. Now you can turn that into walls. Awesome. Or other upgrades, whatever you want to do. We have pets. We have 5 heroes. We have Dark Elixir troops and spells. We have monoliths. Like, there are so many more places to spend your Dark Elixir nowadays that I don't think, like, has the economy broken while we've had this mini event going on with essentially free Super Troops?
No, I
Right?
really don't use too many Super Troops in my attacks.
Right.
But I just had this most brilliant light bulb idea, in
All right,
case
lay it on me.
Supercell's listening. Okay, so in that little hut there, we have, we have a helper to help the CC for your troops and to convert resources, whatever. Why don't they give us some kind of helper to convert resources into ore?
Yeah, listen, you know how fast I would spend money?
Oh, I don't care what it would cost. I would spend my money.
Right? Like
Yeah.
if there was a little helper that you maxed out with gems that gave you ore, I would immediately be very angry because that's basically like pay to win. Um, I would still do it because I'm a sucker, but
Yeah.
I would be salty about it.
I wouldn't even care. It's just take my money, please.
Yeah.
Because I am stuck needing Starry Ore
Yeah,
always.
everyone. Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think it's been a nice break from
Hmm.
the equipment events, and yeah, I think they could easily do something like this. Alternate, equipment 1 month, just
Hmm.
a fun, chill little set of events the next month, and just ease up on the equipment grind a little bit that way.
Yeah, one of the things that I have said kind of repeatedly since equipment came out is that I love the equipment from a design perspective, meaning,
Hmm.
you get all of these different options and variables. And I think it's a real interesting component that Supercell has added, especially now where there's multiple viable pieces of equipment for most of the heroes, and which pair you select for each hero warps how you do the attack, right?
Yeah.
Like, even I think like one of the most busted strategies right now is the Royal Champion Charge, right? It's used to open a ton of different strategies: ground, air, um, smash, hero dive, whatever. There's a whole bunch of strategies that use that as the opener. And even within that, there's the Electro Boot Rocket Spear version. There's the E-Boot Hog version. There's
Hmm.
the Hog Haste version. And all three of those are viable. Also use different pets. And like, you have to kind of play them differently. The Rocket Spear one, you don't use the ability until after the recall. The Hog Haste one, it's like, I haven't used that one too much, so I don't know like the specifics, but I'm pretty sure that one's the one where it's like you have to keep ahead of her with the invisibility spells and all these other kinds of variables that you have to pay attention to. And I think that's great. And if Supercell wants to keep adding equipment, I also think that's great. But the caveat is we cannot keep having all of these equipment be added to the game and not have additional ore sources. So I know you've
100%.
mentioned a bunch of times like mini events should have, or maybe not mini events, but like there should be other ways of getting ore, free and paid. I don't care, but like that's the thing that's going to hurt new players. It's going to hurt returning players, and like that's the lifeblood of Clash. Like, you have a baseline population of players that kind of is always playing, but that's also basically always subject to attrition, and that player base is never really getting bigger unless you convert returning players and new players into long-term players. And the only way that happens is if you don't frustrate them along the way. Like the old stat of like, I don't remember, 75% of people quit in Town Hall 12.
Hmm.
That's because in Town Hall 12 at the time when that stat was being quoted was like, you were going from 2 to 3 day upgrades that cost 2 to 3 million gold all the way to like 10-day upgrades, and they all cost like 10 million gold. And there was just like this huge jump in, how much time you needed to play in terms of farming, how long your upgrades took, like your planning that was required. Because, if everything that you're building only costs a million gold, like, you have 4 builders free up, you can kind of knock that out in like 2 minutes. Like, how long does it really take? But then if
Oh,
it's like,
sure.
I have 5 upgrades and they all cost 15 million gold, well, that's not something that you can do in like 2 seconds, right? So there's all these little pain points that make new players and returning players quit. And like, we just added more with equipment. Like, just make ore easier to get, and that kind of goes away. And all of a sudden, now everybody's excited when new equipment comes out. Nobody's complaining like, oh, well, this new piece of ore, this new piece of equipment came out, but I still haven't even maxed my action figure yet.
Hmm. Exactly. And, I think back to, during Hammer Jam, starting new accounts
Hmm.
in my crazy days.
Right.
And, it was a lot of fun to take them up to, especially with the different cost reductions that they did, maxing to 9 was just a
Right.
breeze, even to 10. It was a
Mhm.
lot of fun. It didn't take a huge length of time, and then, like you say, you hit 13, 14, 15, and it's like you hit this wall
Mhm.
of upgrade times and then equipment times and pet times. And
Mhm.
it becomes painful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have asked me to do like a rush from scratch account and either like put it on YouTube or track it on Reddit or whatever. Like over the years,
Mhm.
people have asked me, and I had considered doing it until Town Hall 14 came out. And then when we got Town Hall 15 and we had 8 pets, I was like, I'm never doing the pet grind again. And now it's like, I'm not doing the pet grind again. I don't want to do the equipment grind again. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So it's like Supercell, if you have someone who's been playing your game for 6 years, who's been an advocate for you, who's like posted on Reddit, is like a leader in Discord servers, plural, like if you have that kind of person who's looking at your game being like, I don't want to do that again, like something's wrong. Like it was fun doing it the first time. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoyed unlocking the equipment. I enjoyed experimenting with it and learning about it. But I don't want to go back to an account that has no heroes and no equipment and no pets. Like, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
Well, like you have the one main account, right?
So I technically have 3 accounts. I have a Town Hall 11 who is maxed with no equipment or whatever equipment was given on release, and I have a
Mhm.
Town Hall 14, technically 15 that was maxed when 14 came out. And then I was like, I'm never doing the pet grind again. And then every so often, I go to that account and I play it for like a weekend or 2. So it's like it has a couple Town Hall 15 upgrades done, and every time I play it, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this pet grind again. No, and I bounce off of it after a few days.
Well, I'm pretty crazy because I have two 17s that, I'm working on equipment, and pets are max on both of them. But equipment I'm working on slowly. And one is pretty much fully maxed except for supercharges. The other one I still have a few traps to do.
Mhm.
And then I've got a max 16 that never shall move to another town hall again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yep.
then I've got my 13, which is stumbling along. And I'm like, why am I upgrading this? Why?
Yeah.
And I've got a max 14. I'm not touching that one, and
Mhm.
some 9s.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I just think Supercell at this point has to look at what it costs from 0 new player all the way to
mhm,
max equipment. And it's like one of the things that frustrates me is that, on my main account, I've bought most of the event passes, not all of them, because initially I wasn't sure how our ore income would look and if there would be other events. So
mhm,
I kind of did the math on it and was like, oh, that's a really big difference. But hopefully, we're only looking at the baseline, no bonus, like no gold pass, no clash, no clan games, no events. Like, there's so many other areas that we've suggested. You've always brought up there should be ore in clan games. Like, I've
mhm.
suggested that ore should be in the silver and gold passes. Like, there's a bunch of other places they could put it, and they just have
Instead of
steadfastly
builder-based
refused.
stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think again, it's one of those things like maybe they could do like context aware. I mean, they can do context aware offers because they, when you're a lower town hall, you get a ton of offers that are not given to people that are higher.
Right.
So why not, once you have your 6th builder, just stop giving us builder based stuff? Like just I'm sure it would piss off like 0.001% of the population of players who wants to actually max their builder hall. But like everyone else would be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Just give us some ore, and like whatever, fine. You put the orange ore only in the gold pass, and you put blue and purple in the silver.
Oh yeah.
Fine.
That
I
that would
I
be a
get it.
huge incentive, I think, for people to buy the gold pass right there. It's like,
Yeah,
well, if I
especially
buy the gold pass, I get starry ore.
right, especially with Supercell's like reluctance. how many years before we actually got the instant troop training, which, people have been
my
suggesting basically since we had builder base, because everybody's like, oh, well, it's in the game. You see how it doesn't break builder base. Like we could just have that. But Supercell, in my opinion, was always very hesitant to do that because they didn't want Gold Pass to like lose the value of 1 gem donations for max players. And we've seen that now. I don't think anyone in my clans, I don't think anyone is donating with gems anymore.
I know one person who does, because he needs the ore, or not the ore, the resources to finish upgrading to 17. So he gems his donations.
I
And
mean,
I'm just like, why?
that's crazy.
But that's him,
That's
and that's his choice. So
yeah, that's very silly.
he's the one person in all of Clash of Clans doing it.
Yeah, basically, like
I shall not name names.
I'm sure they know who they are.
Exactly. All right, jumping into equipment again. We are
Mhm.
getting, in June, apparently, and we're just going to touch briefly on this, an adjustment to the Eternal Tome. Apparently, when troops leave the Tome aura, they'll lose its protection. But on the plus side, when a troop comes into the aura, it gets the protection. So do you think it's really an actual nerf, or just a nerf to a particular strategy?
I think this is one of those things where it sounds really bad. It sounds like they're destroying. Like, okay, let's talk about it. Right, the main strategy that's going to be affected by this is Yeti Blimp, right?
Yep.
Or any of the variations of the Blimp attack. So Super Archer, Super Wizard, Yeti Clone, Popcorn Blimp, like yeah, all of those things. That's what we're talking about, right? And I think this is pretty similar to Town Hall 13, I believe, was the town hall where Yeti Smash with a log launcher was really popular.
Mm-hmm.
And Supercell had like a couple things where they like nerfed the log launcher a few times, and changed like pathing and stuff. And it became very difficult to get your log launcher to go essentially cross base to the town hall. And I think that's kind of the same thing that's happening here. I think the careless blimps from opposite sides of the town hall, I think those are going to be affected. I don't think you're going to be able to, you say the town hall's at 12 o'clock. I don't think you're going to be able to come in from 6 o'clock and fly a blimp all the way across the base without some additional investment in spells.
Right.
But do I think the Yeti clone blimp is going to die here? I don't think so. I think it interestingly, I think it'll be more difficult to do Yeti clone blimps lower than Town Hall 17 because of the Town Hall Gigabomb, where like one of the reasons why Yeti clone blimp wasn't ridiculously strong in previous town halls was that when you blew up the town hall and there was the poison on the ground, your Yeti mites would get eaten and your Yetis would die, and all of those things would make your blimp less value. So nobody wanted to use like all of their spells essentially on this like pretty weak effect, when you could have just been like, well, if I really just want the town hall to go down, I just need like a rage and some sneaky goblins, and like it'll go down. I won't get any other value, but that was like the same thing, right?
Yep.
With the Yeti blimp clone now, I think what you'll see is in that same example of the town hall at 12, instead of coming in at 6, you probably would come in at like 3 to 4 o'clock, right? The bottom right side, and you'd fly the blimp kind of just along that one side of the base, right? Like essentially from 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And I think a lot of people in CFF have already kind of noticed this. Like one of the things that you can do when you have a Yeti clone blimp that goes awry, like say, for example, you fly the blimp and right as you tome, it hits the tornado trap and it essentially goes nowhere. Well, you can kind of line up your clones such that your Yetis will still get the town hall from a pretty large distance away. So I think what they're doing here is making it more difficult to get the insane value that we've seen before, but it's still viable and still good enough to use if you're adaptable and if you can kind of line your clones correctly. So ultimately, I think the rework is not going to kill any strategies. I don't really think it's going to be a pure nerf. I think it's just going to require an adjustment from players that are using the strategy. And
Yeah.
so
That's not a bad thing.
yeah, I can't say that Supercell is doing anything wrong here. I think ultimately this will be good for the game because right now I think Yeti Clone Blimp is too easy. And I think this will give us that little tiny bit of extra skill expression and that little tiny bit of, putting a couple more tools in the toolbox of base builders to make it so that, Yeti Clone Blimps aren't just insane value on like 99% of bases. So I think this is a good change. I think it's something that, is going to piss off a lot of people. And I think Supercell should probably get ahead of it and talk about like why and their reasoning behind it and really, do a community spotlight. Like I do appreciate that they're giving us a heads up well before it's going into the game. That's good. We've criticized Supercell before for, springing these changes on us like super last minute. So, kudos to Supercell. You're doing good. I appreciate that you're letting us know. But also, like, I think the kind of players like myself who can see why this is happening, you don't need to talk to us. You need to talk to the people who, are really only engaging enough to like see announcements in game and maybe put like a video link there to be like, hey, heads up, the tome is changing. Here's why. Like, we're not trying to kill it, but like, this is what you'll need to do moving forward. And I think that would probably,
Yeah,
well,
I agree. I think I know they do have like they have their news tab and they have that one little tab where the content creators can post their stuff. But it might be good to have some kind of an alert, like not just like, put it in the news tab, but maybe have and they do sometimes do this with different events and they have that little pop-up window that comes up. But maybe for something that's an important rework for a core piece of hero equipment that, some kind of a little red flag or something that comes up, important news, please read, because a lot of people do use the Eternal Tome.
Yeah, and it's worked the same way since Town Hall 11 dropped, which was over a decade ago. So maybe
Old clashers, yeah.
Right. Like maybe that's what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to say, like, I don't think it's gonna be that big a deal in terms of the actual in-game impacts, but in terms of how much whining is going to be happening on Reddit, like I feel bad for our friend Cool Rick, because the moderating that subreddit it's just gonna be so bad. It's gonna be real bad for a few days, until people have time to like figure out like, okay, it's not dead. I just have to use it differently. So
I have to adjust, right?
right. Yeah, that would people are classically good at that.
Exactly. All right, it's time to jump into the main topic here. We had a really interesting question from Kronk over at RedThorn. He wanted us to talk about the world of gem economics. He says, I think this is an important question for all varieties of players, and T covers the using side pretty well with when to use magic items and what to spend big amounts of gems on. I think it would be useful to talk about how to maximize getting gems, all the different ways that you can. It doesn't seem like many gems, but they sure add up. So he wants our perspectives on it. Take it away.
Oh, okay. So this is a huge topic, and I'm going to do my best to give kind of high-level summaries rather than go into every single aspect of every single component. Mostly because I think you can kind of summarize all of the gem economy into a couple main incomes and a couple main guidelines in terms of what you should be doing when.
Mhm.
And so I think the most important one to talk about first is a free-to-play player who does not have their 5 builders yet. Because in that aspect, this is going to be the biggest improvement that you can make to your entire game, is getting those 5 builders as soon as possible. So in that aspect, what we're going to talk about first is how you can maximize your gems from 0 all the way up to the most that you can possibly do. So the number one thing, people very people usually underestimate this. The number one source of gems in any given month is going to be your obstacles.
Mhm.
Now, Kat, I know that your base is mostly full,
Yes.
right? We've discussed this.
I still need to get rid of all my doubles.
Right. And now you might be like me, and we'll talk about clan games specifically in the future. But I always, I tell everybody, claim the shovel that's generally always offered in clan games and sell it for gems. I have a confession. I don't think I've ever sold a shovel for gems in my entire Clash career on any of my accounts, including my free-to-play Town Hall 11.
No, those are precious.
Right. I use them on my obstacles.
Mhm.
So be okay. Be better than me. Because in clan games, that 50 gems from the shovel is valuable. So
Mhm.
before you have your 5 builders, you consider gems to be your number one priority. So you want to be removing your obstacles. Luckily, until you get to the point of having 45 obstacles on your base, they will continue to spawn. So it's not something that you need to, set alarms for. It's not something that you need to stress about. But whenever you log in, if you have a free builder, or I guess not anymore, you don't even need a free builder. If you notice obstacles, remove them. You may or may not be aware, but there is a pattern to how many gems you get, and it's something really weird. It's like I don't even know. It's like the digits of pi. If you have it memorized, great. If you don't, doesn't matter. The average that you get per obstacle is 2 gems. So between your 2 bases, which means, yes, you do have to check your builder hall even after you've maxed the builder hall or, given up after 6th builder, whichever. You can get about 360 gems per month. So it's about 180 gems per month per base. So if you're not paying attention to builder hall, you're throwing away a lot of gems. In addition, you can get your gem box, and there's a whole lot of debate about how often it will respawn, when and where, when you can maximize it, blah, blah, blah. If you're interested in the topic, there's a lot of Reddit posts about it, and I'm not going into it. On average, it respawns 4 times a month, and that's what we're going with. So from just obstacles, every month you can get about 460 gems. So when we talk about all of the other sources of gems, remember, essentially your baseline for just logging in and doing nothing else is 460. That's your figure, right? So when we talk about other sources and you're like, well, I could get another 5 more gems if I do this. Remember, 5 gems isn't anything. It's not moving the needle. We want to talk about things in the hundreds, of which there aren't that many other options. So, what are the other big ones? The biggest one after your obstacles is going to be clan games every month. Because in clan games, there are often just pure gem options, which are great. There are additional options like shovels, which, like I said, I never sell them, but I would advise everyone else, particularly if you don't have your 5 builders, you got to sell them. Those are 50 gems. And on average, if you sold everything from a given clan games, you could get about 320 gems a month. Now, would I advise everybody to do that, to sell everything? No. I would only advise you to sell everything in clan games if you're a free-to-play player who has not unlocked their 5 builders yet. Because what I'm also suggesting you sell are things like runes of builder resources, which are very helpful if you haven't unlocked your 6th builder yet. I'm also suggesting you sell shovels, which is a quality of life thing. It means like you don't necessarily get to pick if you are keeping seasonal obstacles, which I know a lot of people, including myself, including you, Kat, we all enjoy it. So, that's another thing. I'm advising you sell books. I'm advising you sell potions. That's, to get to that 320 gems a month figure, you're selling everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's like magic item value that's like good, like, builder potions, research potions, books. All of those things are things that are, generally speaking, more valuable to your account if you use them as opposed to if you're selling them. But again, if you don't have your builders, sell everything. Afterwards, then you start to have to make those kind of balancing adjustments in terms of, okay, until I have my 6 builder, I probably don't want to sell the builder runes. Until I have all my heroes maxed, I don't want to sell my book of heroes. Until I have, at least all of my viable troop upgrades done, I don't want to sell book of fighting, right? So
Yeah.
those are the kinds of things that you have to do in clan games. But I think for the most part, it's pretty simple, right? The idea is if you don't have your builders, sell everything. If you do have your builders, make your own personal judgment calls. Okay. The next thing is Silver Pass. Silver Pass comes with enough stuff that you can usually get about 120 gems from it every month if you just sell everything. And again, same thing as clan games. Pre-builders do it. Post-builders, you're going to have to start making some, judgment calls. One of the things that I will say is that if you have full clan capital medals in Silver Pass, when you go to claim those, you can just convert them to gems. And that's, it's not a lot of gems, but it's something. And if you're trying to max your heroes and buy Book of Heroes, it adds up over time, It'd probably be a book or two a year. It's not nothing. And, if your clan has a maxed clan capital, then it is at least better than literally nothing.
Exactly. Well, and gems do add up, especially now that you don't need to gem donations and stuff. So
right, exactly. Like we said before, not everybody, well, almost nobody is donating with gems anymore. So they will actually stack up if you're not, spending them willy-nilly and on careless things.
Mhm.
Okay. So those are essentially the 3 main good ones. The 4th good option, and I'm going to use good in quotations, is your gem mine from Builder Hall. So once you've gotten your 6th builder, you may want to consider continue playing Builder Hall because the gem mine is worth about 150 to 180 gems a month, depending on how well you remember to use your clock tower and how upgraded your clock tower is. So look, I am not the best at checking my gem mine. I often look over at Builder Hall and I'm like, oh, it's full. It has 19 gems. I don't know how long it's been full. Whoops.
Days.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't have to set alarms, like don't stress about it, but it is free gems. They do add up. It's like, if you have perfect utilization of Clock Tower and a max gem mine and you remove all of your obstacles, you're already talking about 640 gems a month for doing basically nothing but log in. And when, clan games is only worth around 200 to 300 gems and Silver Pass is only worth about 100 or so gems, that's big. That's like a lot. So I understand not everybody has a level gem mine. Not everybody wants to spend the additional time playing Builder Hall to get a level gem mine. I get it. But especially if you're free to play, you should consider it is a pretty viable additional source of gems. All right. Now, we've talked about all the good ones. I have to address the bad ones. Number 1, the worst one, it's CWL medals. A lot of people, including my dear friend Darth Yoda, have admitted to buying research potions with CWL medals and selling them for gems.
Ooh.
Now, Yoda says it's because the only thing that he cares about is progressing his heroes. He also doesn't listen to me, and he buys hero hammers, which is it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I think it's like the worst thing that you can do when you're progressing an account. However, once you are maxed, so like I don't disagree necessarily with Yoda on the hero hammer. I do disagree with him selling the research potions for gems when you are a maxed account, right? When you're just kind of cruising along with the regular pace of Supercell updates. Yoda says all the time what he prefers to do, and I've kind of come to agree with him is that when Supercell releases new hero levels, he doesn't upgrade his heroes manually. He just does it with books, hammers, and like I think he said he puts one hero down because now you can put one hero down and suffer no consequences.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So like doing that as a maxed account, you know what? I kind of agree. I end up using a little more power potions than I might like to as a max player, but you know what? I'm with Yoda at this point where it's like once you're maxed and cruising, do what you want. Buy the hero hammers, buy whatever, fine. But when you're coming up, like the hero hammers are so bad. They're so terrible and so low value.
Mhm.
And that's at 165 metals per hammer, right?
Yeah,
If
I
you
can't
do
remember I bought one of those. They're terrible value.
Yeah, and like the hero is only 8 days. Like it's there's a whole section in the guide devoted solely to dunking on hero hammers. Like there's math, you can read it. Like it just if you go to the guide and you search for hero hammer math, there's an entire section. And so I won't rehash it any further. But as bad as hero hammers are, selling research potions for gems is worse somehow. Because if you did the conversion, it's essentially spending 250 metals per book of heroes. So not only do you still have to farm the dark elixir because you're using a book and not a hammer, it's worse than a hammer. So it's like the worst thing that you could possibly do to use your CW metals is to do that. So please don't. It's a bad idea. The only thing that I would say is like if you're in a super, super low town hall and somehow convince somebody to get you into a, Crystal Master CWL league, say they're demoting and they don't really care about the roster and they just need the league to come down. And you are able to somehow earn 8 stars and you get 400 CWL medals or whatever. And you don't have your builder, you don't have your 5th builder yet. Okay, fine. Sell the research potions for gems and get your 5th builder. You have my permission. Everyone else, stop doing it. Stop asking me. It's bad. It's the worst. Let's just move on. Okay. Now here's the last one, the last source of gems that you can get. And this one is, again, it's one of those topics that you're going to have to do a little bit of personal goal setting, valuations. Like it requires the use of the gray matter. Unfortunately, there isn't a right answer. What I can tell you is that raid metals have already, by default, before you start selling things for gems, they already have some of the biggest improvements to your account's progression that you can possibly do, which is really unfortunate if you're selling those for gems. So I know, Kat, what do you mainly use your raid medals for as a maxed player at Town Hall 17? Like what are you using them for?
Oh, I'm going to be buying the ore
Mm-hmm.
with them first of all. And then I don't spend a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I used to buy those green potions to trade my stuff faster, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't anymore. So on my main, I'm basically investing in the ore.
Right. Now that's smart. I mean, that's about half as effective as the event passes. And the event passes, if you're maximizing the purple and orange ore from them, is like a 30 to 50% increase in your ore income. So the raid metals, depending on where you are in the journey, your war win rate, all of those other things, it's like a 15 to 30% increase in ore. So that's pretty big, right? Especially as we're talking about like how much ore a new player needs. So I promised I wasn't going to go into too much nitty gritty, but with the raid metals, I kind of have to a little bit. So an average clan, from what I've seen, most clans that are in a reasonable position in clan capital are able to earn around 1,500 medals a week, right? I've seen clans that get a little more. I've seen clans that get a little less, but we're going to use 1500 as this is a reasonable expectation that you can have for your clan, right? So orange ore, you need 700 a week, right? It's already almost half of your raid medals gone just buying the orange ore. Now, then you also want to get the purple ore, right? That's 600. We're at 1300 already. We only have 200 raid medals left. Now, the third thing that you kind of want to get, especially as a new player, is you want to get research potions, because the research potions are a roughly 40 to 49% reduction in lab time if you get them every week. So that's a huge, huge difference maker, because normally your lab is, this figure kind of moves as Supercell does time reductions and releases new things, but your lab is anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5 more days elapsed to finish than your builders, which is one of the reasons why in previous versions of the guide, before raid medals could let you buy so many research potions so consistently, I used to suggest people buy Hammer of Fighting more than Hammer of Building. Nowadays, I say you only buy a couple Hammer of Fightings only when either you just hit Town Hall 17 and you want to max out a couple key troops, or
Right.
if you're like a maxed player and a new Town Hall is coming out, then yeah, you absolutely should buy the fighting hammers and use them to max out, your key troops as they get up, as the upgrade gets released. Nowadays, the recommendation is to buy 3 or 4 building hammers per single fighting hammers, because of how much value those research potions from your raid medals represent. So if we do all of our math, our research potions are 600, our purple ore is 600, and our orange ore is 700. We're already at 1900 raid medals every week, and we already discussed we're only earning 1500. Well,
What are you going to do?
Right? So already as a new player, and even somewhat as an existing player, you're already having so many demands on your raid medals that there isn't any extra really to squeeze out. So a lot of people say, you should sell clock tower potions and wall rings from your raid medals in order to get gems. But here's the thing. It only adds 105 gems a week at the cost of 975 red medals. So if you do that, you basically have to pick purple ore, research potions, or some of the orange ore. You can't even get all of it, and nothing else. So it is a massive sacrifice to do that. So even for players that don't have their 5 builders, I would say think very carefully before you start to do that. So, it's another 400 gems a month. That's a pretty decent amount, but you are sacrificing a lot. So if you're free to play and you've made a mistake and you spent your gems on other stuff and then you realized, oh no, I need my 5 builders and I have like no gems and I've spent a bunch of the achievement gems and all of those things. Okay. Maybe do that for a couple weeks, but know that you are sacrificing something. So the total summary is this is what you should be looking at. If you're someone who is selling a reasonable amount of the magic items for gems every month, you're getting about 840 or so gems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's with like using most of the things that are valuable to your account. And then if you maximize and you sell basically everything, you're looking at about 1,400 gems a month. So that's like, it's not nothing. It is more. But is it worth it? Right? Like you're only going from like 800 to 1,400. Like you're not going from 800 to 6,000. You're not trivializing all of these other things. So now we got to talk about some other frustrating aspects of what your gems are.
There's
used
more.
for.
There's more.
There is more. So now we've talked about income.
Okay.
So Okay. The income is done. We're talking about 800 to about 1,400 gems per month. Kat, when
Yes,
was the
sir.
last time that you unlocked a major achievement on one of your accounts?
Oh, major achievement. Let's see. Oh, well, on my baby 13, I made it to champs, so I got 2,000 gems. So that was the last big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you're coming up, one of the things that I think is I don't want to attribute to malice what could be attributed to carelessness or ignorance, right? But one of the things that's a little frustrating about the new player experience in current day Clash of Clans is that those achievements are very generous. And I know it's kind of incongruous to say it's frustrating that these gem offers are generous. I think the problem is it sets up new players with the expectation of getting tons and tons of gems, right? 2,000 in one go is a pretty big chunk. And again, I just want to call it out. If you don't have your 5 builders, like those are the achievements that you should be going for, like hitting the league thresholds, like getting those big ones. You can play single player to get all those, like maximize your gems for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the new player has about 18,000 gems waiting for them in achievements. And that sounds like a ton. That sounds like so many. That's, 36 Book of Heroes. That's a lot. That's like a ton. But here's the thing. As a new player, you're also enticed with all of these ways to spend your gems that are very expensive and very intriguing. So, on your new accounts, like how many pieces of equipment have you bought with gems?
Maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
For some stupid reason, I purchased the Electro Boots on one of my 9s, which I have no intention of ever taking up. But I had a lot of gems and didn't have anything else to do with them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So let me don't buy. let me add that.
Don't be like
rules.
Kat.
Don't buy equipment that you can't use for a very long time. My general rule of thumb for buying equipment is the only time you should do it is if you, 1, have the hero, 2, have a stockpile of ore such that the piece of equipment that you buy, you can quickly get to a usable level. Mm-hmm. 3, that piece of equipment is either the best or is unlocking some sort of really strong meta strategy for that hero. And 4, that there's not something better that you could be using the ore for. Or, the gems for. Which I guess I don't think I've mentioned actually. The number one thing that you should be saving your gems for is for Book of Heroes from the trader. Because you can only, like, the trader offers 4 books a month, and if you're free to play, you're only going to be able to buy between 1 to 2 books a month, depending on how many gems you're selling. So one of the things that you have to do is, before you have good hero targets, and by that I mean an 8-day upgrade for a hero, before that point, you can just keep saving the gems for a very, very long time and stack a ton of them up. And then once you get that hero to a reasonable level, now you can buy a book every single week for a long time while you work on your other heroes. And suddenly that hero is going to be maxed before you know it. So that's like the baseline of what you should consider good for using your gems.
Here's a quick question for you. Do you recommend ever for people to purchase the extra base slots for their gems?
Ooh, you're talking about the war layouts?
Yeah.
If you're maxed and you have some use case or value from it, I think it can be good. I think it's less good than it used to be. I think because at the top level, bases are so rarely defending that having like a lot of different options at your fingertips isn't quite as valuable. However, if you're someone who, hangs out in the CFF server and you participate in a lot of the, wild, wacky, crazy events that people do, such as the upcoming 69 war, having other options, especially once your heroes are done. Yeah, it's a quality of life thing. And I know in Sons of Guns, we also do a monthly 1v1, and having a lot of options at your fingertips where you can test them before the 1v1 goes live and, have bases available to use, or even something like, oh, I know that Yoda is using, the Dragon Clone Yeti Blimp, but Wolf is using Root Rider, or Wizard is using Super Yetis, so you could have a base like custom built for each one of them, right? Like that's that's the kind of thing that's like fun to do once you're towards the end of the journey and you're looking for additional ways to engage with the game. I wouldn't suggest necessarily that someone make that their first gem purchase.
Yeah, no, I would need it.
But it's fun. It's a quality of life thing, and to me, like once you're past the hump of being behind Supercell's release curve, I think you get more freedom to be like, you know what? I do want to buy that fireball, even though I might use the Warden fireball attack like once a month. But if you don't have anything else to spend your gems on, that's different. What we're talking about when I'm saying like optimizing your gem usage is talking about somebody who's not at that upper end, right? Like there's still got so much left to do. So just going back real quick. So when you have all these achievements that are unlocking and you get this like pile, it's not quite 18,000 that you're going to be able to get as a new player immediately, because a lot of those gems are locked behind fairly lengthy quests and requirements, but about 13,000 is pretty easily accessible. And one of the things that I think is a little sneaky, a little shady by Supercell, is offering all of the assistants very early on into your career as a clasher, and those costs stack up really fast. And I think it's an important topic to talk about because, in terms of your long-term Clash career over the course of several years, both of the assistants are 100% worth maxing. However, the question is, when during your career do you max them? And that's the thing that is a little frustrating, because a lot of people will just instantly max them and they'll burn almost all of their achievement gems essentially instantly, because the lab assistant requires 8,000 gems to max, and the builder assistant requires, I think it was like 6,000 and change or something. So that's like 14,000 gems just from the two assistants.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? Like that's a lot. And so that's a lot of books that you're sacrificing. That's a lot of hero power that you're sacrificing. And for the most part, when you look at the comparison versus maxing your heroes, essentially what you're doing is you're saying the most important thing to me is my final day of maxing, right? Like if I do nothing else, if I spend no gems whatsoever, I don't max, I don't buy Book of Heroes, nothing. If my date is, say, I start an account today, we're recording on May 25th. So my average of somebody that's buying gold pass is around 18 months. So we would be looking at around November 2026 to be, completely maxed. Well, if I buy the builder assistant and I max him, instead of it being November 25th, it's going to be November 5th, roughly. So that's
really
right. And that's the last 20 days of upgrades are going to be faster. Your last 20 days of upgrades are going to be like mortars and traps. It's like that's garbage time. It's like what they call in football or basketball when the game is obviously over and all of the starters get pulled and the other team scores touchdowns. Like that's points in garbage time. Who cares about garbage time? Now, if instead of doing that, you only get the cheap upgrades from the Builder Assistant. So in my mind, the cheap upgrades are level 1 and level 2. Those like basically anyone and everyone should get. They're very cheap. They give you, a little tiny bit of a boost. And also, most people, I think, should consider getting to level 4 on the Builder Assistant. So that same example where no Builder Assistant is starting today, you would max November 25th, 2026, and a maxed Builder Assistant would be November 5th. The halfway point, interestingly enough, is exactly halfway between those. It would be about November 12th or so. So in my mind, that's worth it because it gives you all those other benefits, like you can put the Builder Assistant on your one hero that you're upgrading, which actually does decrease the amount of time required to get that hero to the 8-day mark by, it depends on which hero you're using, but for the queen, it's by about 3 to 4 weeks. So it's not nothing, right?
Yeah,
Right? But the ultimate thing is it actually lets you max that Archer Queen about 2 months faster. By doing the level 4 Builder Assistant instead of the level 8 Builder Assistant. So that, in my opinion, is 2 additional months of getting to use a max level Archer Queen. Like, that's awesome. And now, once you start maxing heroes, each hero after that is easier to do than the one before. And your account is more fun to play while you have maxed heroes. So that's like what starts the snowball of getting into better CWL leagues, which gives you more CWL medals, which gets you more progress. And the whole time, your account is getting more fun to play. So to my mind, like, it's one of those things where I don't want to spend those last 4 levels of the Builder Assistant. And if you want the math, like, again, you can you can go into the guide, you can search for Builder Assistant math. There's a whole, I think it's like 3 pages of me doing all the math, of showing you all this stuff in specific and showing you the percentages and the values. Like, go there. It's already written. Don't argue with me about it.
Yeah, the guide. Those things are wrong.
Right. So I think for new players, like, the thing to be careful about is, like, you think that you have essentially infinite gems because they just keep coming into your account. You keep unlocking these achievements. You keep getting more. Just be careful. Be careful with those initial investments of where you put the gems, and just be intentional. And I've just advised everybody to remember the gems don't go bad. The only thing that you could possibly be missing out on is that the book, that the trader is only offering you 1 book per week. So if you get started buying those books a little later, it's just something you don't get to catch back up on. But
right.
If you don't have an 8-day hero to upgrade, it's not the end of the world. It's not that bad. So it's you can't ever unspend your gems, but you can always save them.
110%.
Right. So to be, to put a bow on this, the too long didn't listen summary is just this. In your new account, once you've gotten the couple initial levels of your assistants knocked out, save your gems and sit on them for a long time. Maybe consider buying 1, maybe 2 pieces of epic equipment if they really unlock something good for your account. But otherwise, just stockpile and then spend all of them into Book of Heroes and upgrade and max your heroes first. And then once you're done, then do whatever the hell you want with your gems. And I think that's it.
All right, let's do some shout outs. Do you have any shout outs?
Oh man, when we were initially recorded this episode, I had some. and now it's gone. Yeah, it's okay. I think we just got to shout out that the Sons of Guns family. This CWL sign up has been, I don't want to say it's been the best because there are some people on my dummies list. We've had, I think, 1 month since I've taken over that I had nobody on my dummies list. So we're not quite the best, but we're doing pretty good. Everybody's listening for the most part. My time as CWL organizer is not terrible this month. I got everything posted early, and signups closed by the time this podcast will be posted. So if you didn't sign up, too late.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that I can say the same thing. Okay, and a big shout out to Kronk over at RedThorn for the amazing idea for the pod. Always love to have ideas from our listeners, and thank you very much to him. It was a great idea. And also a big shout out to Mords for putting together the charity stream.
Sounds good.
And that's it from us. The CFF is a family of clans who love to play various games such as Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and others. You can send questions or comments to us on Twitter at RedThornCOC. To get more information on our clans, events, and podcasts, join the CFF Discord at discord.gg/clashfiles.
Dear Clash Gods, I confess my emotions have been a mess. Because you changed everything we ever knew. From witches to poison and the Queen Walk too. Whoa, I've been